Welcome to this video where I show you how I choose my favorite 24 Inktense pencils for autumn. If you are someone who struggles with having those large sets of pencils and you don't always know what to do with them, then this video is for you. I'm someone who tends to stay away from purchasing full sets due to the fact that I often kind of just use my favorites anyway, and then I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed with these huge sets. That being said, I happen to have this 100 set of Inktense pencils, and as you can see, the colors are really gorgeous. There are so many beautiful colors, but I often notice that I just don't reach out to this set because there are just too many. There are too many colors, and even though I have good color charts and swatches that I can use when selecting the right pencils for each art piece, I often just don't want to have all the pencils in front of me. And I usually use my old favorite set of 24 pencils that I had purchased as my first set of Inktense pencils years ago. But this time I wanted to do something different. I wanted to create my own favorite set of 24 pencils. So I took away the original 24 pencils from that pencil tin and filled in 24 favorites from this huge 100 pencil set. So basically I created my own favorite set of 24 Inktense pencils, especially thinking about autumn and autumn months that are in front of us and coming soon. So this is the original set and original tin of 24 pencils, but now instead of having the original pencils in, it has my 24 favorites. How I did this is basically I just looked through the swatches and picked first the ones I knew I absolutely wanted to include, and then I tried to balance it a bit so that I could have a balanced palette of colors. You can see that I end up having a lot of those muted earthy tones, browns and greys, but that's really what works best for me since I draw lots of nature topics and landscapes. But now let's swatch all the pencils. I will show you the colors I've chosen. Lemon, Sicilian yellow, burnt orange, hot red, crimson, deep rose, red violet, dusky purple, lapis blue, Malibu, wonderful turquoise color, deep indigo, navy blue, and then we have our greens. I selected lime green, olivine, leaf green, one of my all-time favorite Inktense greens, iron green. Next we have oak, dark chocolate, dark mink, storm dust, asphalt, Payne's grey, and sepia ink. And as said, we also have antique white, which is gorgeous and a staple whenever I use my Inktense pencils. Now let's add some water and you can see the magic happen. So that's it. Those are my 24 favorite Inktense pencils for autumn, and I'm really happy to have them now in this tin ready to be used. Next, I wanted to show you how I'd use them in practice, and I wanted to test if this palette actually works on a nice kind of early autumn landscape. So obviously we are in August, and even here in the kind of Northern Europe, it's not yet autumn, it's still full summer, but it's nice to test and see how these pencils would work for a bit more simple landscape on my sketchbook. The sketchbook I'm using here is my trusted autumnal sketchbook, which I think works wonderfully well with Inktense pencils. I start by building the kind of base layer of color, and this is my usual style and usual method for any kind of landscape building, landscape drawing, and building those landscapes and different colors and values. So I start by adding a nice base layer of colors to the paper, and then use lots of water to activate it so that I can have that as a base layer, and then I can start adding details on top of that. Sometimes I think people say that they struggle with activating all the Inktense pigment, and especially if it's a bit of rougher paper. But I think here the secret is just to use quite a lot of water and be patient and not over careful with the brushes. So the brushes I use with Inktense are not the ones that I use when I'm painting full watercolor. So these are my dedicated brushes for mixed media, and then I don't have to be as careful as I would be with my very, very precious watercolor brushes. So you can see here that I am trying to activate all the pigment, and at this stage having a good solid layer of color that I can then start adding texture and layers on. And I don't mind if the colors mix together. That's actually kind of one of the purposes here. We want to have that kind of watercolory effect, which I personally love a lot. I'm someone who loves that kind of solid watercolor washes. And that's what we are doing here, but we are also at the same time mixing the colors together a bit on the paper and trying to give that interesting variety of color on the paper. I have to say, I think the iron green actually works really well, and the selection of greens that I've chosen, I think those are a really nice combination. They complement each other very well and they work together, so I have those kind of lighter and brighter greens, and then that one darker green which mixes wonderfully together with the grays and blues, so that I can create lots of different dark green tones. And I let the paper also dry in the meanwhile, and then start adding layers. And I first usually start by adding shadows, so adding a bit darker pencil to those areas which I want to have a bit more shadowy look or darker tones. So that's kind of very easy way to start. And then also adding some details already and trying to think where I want to have trees and kind of those more defined parts of the distant forest. So that's kind of the next thing you see me doing here. What I love most about Inktense pencils is how versatile they are. I think it's the same as with Neocolor 2s, which I love as well. But you can use these pencils in so many different ways. You can use them to add those nice large washes or areas of color, but then at the same time they can be used to build details, add really small precise details on paper. And I also love that Inktense pencils go a really long way. So they release so much pigment that, especially with my art style where I don't go super dark all the time, these pencils really last a long time. So even though these pencils look like they've never been used, I can tell you most of them have been used at least a few times. But they really last a long time because of the intense pigment that they release. I remember my first time using Inktense pencils, and I think it was some sort of ocean scene. I'm not sure if I remember correctly, but it was years ago, and I was really almost a bit shocked by the intensity of color, and I didn't know exactly how to use them. I found it quite difficult to get that kind of natural look. It looked very intense, not in the best way, I have to say, since I like that kind of a bit more soft end result in my art. But it has taken me a lot of patient practice and then years of practice actually to get to this point where I think I can create with these pencils something that I am happy with the outcome. And of course, the journey, everyone has their own art journey, and whenever you are experimenting new pencils or new medium, it takes a while to get where you want to be. At some point, if you're interested, I could show you from my sketchbook some earlier works that I've done with these pencils and kind of take you through that journey. I'll take you along with my journey with Inktense. But I just want to, I guess what I want to tell you or say to you is that if you are new to this medium and you struggle with it and you don't quite know how to use it and how to get that more softer look, first of all, there are wonderful artists here on YouTube that you could follow and get lots of tips and tricks. But mostly it's just about practicing. So take your time, look different tutorials, or just, take an afternoon just for yourself and test out and see what works for you. And then with time, you will find your own way and your own style of using these pencils. For me, what works best and what I enjoy most is intense layering. So I love to layer colors, and I think that's where Inktense works wonderfully, because even though they're not permanent if you don't activate all the pigment super carefully, but they don't lift as easily as other watercolor pencils, and that's why I think they are a really good medium for layering. And that's, if you know me, you've been following my channel for a while already, you know that I love to build those layers, and that way building different texture and depth. And that's what you can also see in this video. You can see me using that technique, and that's what I really enjoy using these pencils for. So how did I find this set in the end, now that I've been talking to you about all different things or other things while drawing? So how did I find this set that I've chosen in the end? Well, I think this will work wonderfully for me, and this is exactly what I wanted, because now I am super inspired. I think drawing this one quick sketch on my sketchbook gave me a lot of new ideas and inspiration how to use these colors together. So I'm sure that now that I have selected my favorite 24 for the autumn season, I will be using these a lot more. And I was then also thinking that I might do this for every season, so change up the palette a bit every season, and instead of taking that full set of 100 pencils out, I would always just have this wonderful small set of 24 pencils on my desk. Because at the end of the day, you can so easily mix different colors, and they mix wonderfully on the paper, and you can see me here doing all those different techniques. And that being said, I don't think you need the full 100 set of pencils all the time. And I think this will work well for my autumnal sceneries and landscapes, but we will see once the autumn actually starts if I would need to add some more oranges or yellows or those warmer brown colors to selection. So let's see what happens when we get to September and October. But overall, I'm really happy that I did this exercise. I was so inspired, and I found it so much fun to test this new palette and this selection of pencils on this sketch. And I just had a lot of fun. So this was a very relaxing art session for me. And I'm really, really happy to create lots of other Inktense pencil artworks during the upcoming weeks and months. Let me know in the comments which would be your favorite 24 Inktense pencils for autumn, and if you have tried something similar where you picked your favorites and worked with a bit more limited palette for a number of months or weeks, or just, let me know how you find this, and if you've experienced and tried out something a bit similar maybe. I would be very happy to hear your favorites and your selection of 24 pencils. And also let me know in the comments below how you found this video, if this is something you'd be interested to see also in the future, and if you'd be interested to have a continuous series of these videos every season. So here's a close-up to end the video with. You can see the textures I've created and the beautiful layers and different colors and the color palette its own. Thank you so much for watching. I've really enjoyed having you with me in this journey of selecting my 24 favorite Inktense pencils for autumn. I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.